This diss track was so strong, he went to court. Mm-hmm. That's incredible.
In a world where QR codes kill kittens and customer service is an oxymoron, one podcast has set out to make things right. This is the UnPodcast.
That was close. I can do backup vocals, right?
But I really want to know, Allison, is he this funny at home? What's the number one question you get asked, Allison Stratton?
Is Scott this funny at home?
He's considerably funnier, people. Considerably funnier. Yeah. Lots more material to
work with. This is all for
with.
public consumption.
Yeah, so. Lots more material to work with at home. All right. How's it going, Scott?
Good.
Haven't seen you today.
Happy March when this is out, I believe.
I'm older. It's been my birthday.
That's right. She turned 28?
No, 49 and proud of it.
And we still get ID'd. Sorry, she does. Again, how old
I
do you
don't
think
really get ID'd. I haven't gotten ID'd in a long time.
Good to thank you for spending your time. You could have spent it anywhere you wanted to.
In the
but
whole
currently
world.
You're spending it, I don't know, commuting to work? Where are you listening to this right now? We want to know.
Yeah, are you walking your dog? Are you commuting?
If you're listening to the show right now in earbuds, I want you to say out loud what you're doing right now.
They could get in trouble, though. What if they're at work in a meeting or something?
But it's funny. And that's all that matters. As long as we find it funny.
What he cares about is content.
Yeah, so send it in. Please
right.
Let us know right now where you are and what you're doing. But if you are commuting to work, the person in front of you, they actually did cut you off on purpose. They actually did. That's the thing. Like we usually say, like people don't.
Sponsored by Road Rage.
Sponsored by Road Rage.
What you guys?
Have some unfettered rage you need to get out on somebody unsuspecting? Try Road Rage.
We're the right podcast for you.
So we got a news out now. Obviously, you're listening to this in March or onwards after that. And we are recording this, however, as we do 4 episodes at a time. And this is the day after the Super Bowl. Now, you may be wondering, Scott, you're not going to talk football, though, are you? Because this is a business show. And my friends, I say to you, 1, we can do what we want. But 2, no, we're not going to talk football.
Well, football's a business.
Because Lions are not, we're not in it. Because of the drive-by that got on the last show we did. But this is about Kendrick. Now, as you see, it's a weird spot for us to be in. We are a show based in Canada. People think this show, the Kendrick Battle, is U.S. or West Coast versus Canada because it's Kendrick versus Drake. And let me tell you, it is certainly not. However, why I want to talk about it today was not about last night or weeks ago, and you're listening to this, about the performance, which was legendary, and probably the most legendary diss track of Not Like Us, being at least top 5 in diss tracks, along with plentiful songs, whether it's Hit 'Em Up, Tupac, or Hit 'Em Up style, Blue Cantrell, obviously. Either Hit 'Em Ups we'll go for, No Vaseline, Ice Cube, but pick out all the diss tracks, right? Crying Like a Bee, Godsmack, we go all these diss tracks. I'm going at least top 5. Wayne, would you go top 5 with me? You maybe? Yes?
Yep.
Okay, top 5, good. But the result and the ramifications because of it, and culturally, I put it number 1. I put it the number 1. It's not just for views, streams, impact, amazing levels of wordplay and double to triple entendres inside of the stuff, all of these things. But the fact that I can now talk about this one specific part of it because it has to do with influencers makes me so happy that I can tie all of this in. And if you don't know what's going on between Kendrick and Drake, we can't get into too much. It's just there's beef, and Kendrick's been winning almost the entire time. And this is how you know. From balleralert.com, obviously a site Allison and I subscribe to and go to daily. Just when fans thought Drake was ready to bury the hatchet with Universal Music Group and Spotify, he filed a new federal defamation lawsuit. And here are some of the most interesting claims in his latest legal action. Can I just say that to you all right now? That Drake sued Universal Music because of how bad the diss was of the diss track? Like that's never happened before. Like this diss track was so strong, he went to court. Mm-hmm. That's incredible. He had a lawsuit, withdrew it, but then brought a new one in. And it says, the Scorpion performer accused the label of promoting Kendrick Lamar's now infamous diss track, Not Like Us, and spreading a false and malicious narrative. Filed in the U.S. District Court for the Southern District of New York, the 81-page suit alleges UMG used unlawful tactics to boost the track's popularity. One of the most interesting means of promotion used by several YouTubers, Drake declared. He says UMG enabled content creators with massive followings such as Kai Sanat, Zeiss, No Life Shack, RDC Gaming, and Cartier Family. By the way, No Life Shack is my favorite reactor in that group, to monetize reactions to Not Like Us without executing copyright strikes. So what he's saying is the label, which usually happens, was they would do a copyright strike, which would not take the video down. A lot of times with music, what it does is they would then any kind of money they made through ads or AdWords goes to the label. Right, so they can still do a strike on that, but they can do a strike and take it down, meaning you're not allowed to use it. It's been for years, right? What is fair use?
Yeah.
What is fair use in a video? We were talking about it before coming on air about reactor videos, and does it make a new product, or is it just them pointing and laughing a couple times and just stealing content? And that's and then there's a whole level of they actually. The original channel tried to copyright the term react to stuff. Like there's a whole level of this stuff. And I love watching reactors. I love watching No Life Shack. I love watching Screwface Gene, Hip Hop as a Sport. Like I love these reactor channels. I'm reacting to Rage Against Machine and System of a Down. Like it makes me relive hearing songs for the first time sometimes. Also, I know what's coming in certain songs, and they're like, "Oh, that was crazy." I'm like, "You don't know what's coming. You don't know what's coming." And then it comes even more. But then I also the reaction videos they're talking about. Those are the ones I've been watching.
Yeah.
I watch these I love them. They're great. They have a great personality. It also gets me into new music because then you start watching a channel because of the individual video. So it's like Rage Against the Machine. But then if they're good, you keep watching the channel.
Yeah.
So then that's how I get introduced to some new music. That's how I started listening to Doechii, was because of reactors, right? And that was how I got Hunan Kind, which is 10 Toes Standing on Business. And it's what a great video. Again, reactors.
Yeah.
And so I love the ecosystem. And Drake's like, ooh, they were allowed to make money on this video. And now the reactors are reacting to the lawsuit. We've talked about on the show the Barbra Streisand effect, which is bringing attention to something that didn't have a huge amount of attention in the first place. And in the grand scheme of Not Like Us ecosystem, reactors were near the bottom. And now they're higher than some of the other videos that were out there because of this lawsuit. Sometimes you're going to beat your ass and hide the Bible if God is watching in these type of things. I'm telling you, this is something that, like, I have never seen in a result of an ending of a diss track, okay? Like, I didn't see, like, Machine Gun Kelly file a lawsuit after Eminem just eviscerated him.
I think it's one of the first times that it's happened.
Right? Like, any of those type of things. And just to have this go to this point and rope in reactors, part of it's like reactors like, hey, you named me, hey! And then you're just like, wait a second, what? But also, it's a reality check. Would you be sued? Because reactors don't have the money that, let's say, Kendrick or a label does. Better check those contracts.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
This is a story from from Axios.
Yeah.
It says Barnes & Noble to add 60 new stores as Bookstore Revival picks up speed. So we've talked about Barnes & Noble over the years quite a bit, and book sales in general, and changes in bookstores and things that we like, things that we didn't like. And we've talked about Barnes & Noble investing in sort of like the community side of their stores, reviews by people who work there, empowering workers to put all of these kinds of things. What's really interesting about this is, speaking about influencers, is the influence of Book Talk. So if you aren't familiar, like with TikTok, Book Talk is sort of just a hashtag, I guess. I don't know how best to describe it as an ecosystem. It's an environment, I guess, a space, an online space.
There's a lot of talks.
Yeah, there's a lot of talks.
You get into stream of one, then you end up. I'm on Book Talk now.
Yeah, and so
I'm on Farm Talk. Like I'm so many farming things.
That is a topic for another episode. Sheesh. But why are we on the members page? So anyway, but Book Talk is, you've completely thrown me off my point on Farm Talk. Okay.
They talk about baling hay and stuff.
Of course, baling hay. So Book Talk, people talk about books. They talk about the books they love. They review books. And very similar to movies and stuff, sometimes there's this idea like, well, we can only make this one kind of movie, right? Like superhero movies are just popular, so we're just going to keep making superhero movies.
Right.
No one would ever watch a movie with, romance leads or female leads or black leads or whatever it is. And so one thing that Book Talks really showed is that, well, you're wrong. And that, people talk about the things that they love. And like you said about music, right? Like, how do we find more things we love? How do we get referrals for things like, if you go to the hairdresser and someone beside you is talking about like these kind of,
word of mouth,
social media is kind of like word of mouth online, right? So Book Talk became a space where people would talk about the books they loved. And there's some incredible reviewers on Book Talk who just like are passionate about books, like you're talking about music, just really passionate about it. And it comes across, and they're driving sales of books. And so this article is all about how Barnes & Noble, like a huge brand, is being influenced by influencers and on TikTok. And one of the biggest trends is romance books, and these idea of having a romance bookshop, which is just romance books.
So these smaller bookshops have opened up for just romance. What I never even thought of, like a bookstore. I'm sure they existed before on a level, but they are like, you walk in the book and this is only romance books.
There was a cookbook. This is gonna, like, I know I don't know if it's still there. I should have
like
looked
niche
it up.
Bookstores,
there used to be a cookbook store in Toronto. I don't know if it's still there.
Cool.
And it was like incredible. And you walked in, it was all and there's also this idea, this is something else we talked about, not in this article, but about the idea of retail spaces having like different layers to them, like having community events, having activities. And so when your store is based around something like books or like music or art or things, you can also have community events. So they have smaller bookstores, they bring speakers in, it's very focused. Sometimes they'll have a coffee like it's just a whole, a third space, I think, right? Like a second space. Is that the right second? I don't know the word, but.
Third, because there's home, office, and there's a third.
So this idea of like bookstores also being centered around this, and that if you build it, they will come sort of idea, right? Like that Book Talk is sort of giving these companies almost permission to be like, no, people really love. I don't think it's new that people love romance books. Like, I don't really think that's new. But you
know what I find fascinating about this too is that like Barnes & Noble. So this article says like they are opening 60 new stores this year. Barnes & Noble in 2019 opened -3 stores.
Yeah, I think they closed.
They were closing stores. Like I remember that because obviously we've been in the book game since 2010.
Yeah, for a while.
With 7 books, and we've dealt with like Borders and Barnes & Noble and Kohl's here and Chapters and Indigo and they were all kind of Books A Million, and they were all kind of closing up a bit. And the only independent or the only other type of bookstores I ever remember instead of niche ones was old books, like really like $2,000, like you'll see in DC or something like that, or in Toronto, like the collectibles and valuable, like the first edition of the first piece of paper ever. It's like the old, maybe not that, but like the old books, right? And it's like that's the only
really
niche I used to see. I like them by subject. It's really cool because also one of the things you realize about bookstores, and when we see like unmarketing on the shelf at one, why we're so excited. Because it's so hard to get a book on a bookshelf these days.
It is really hard.
And then it's even harder sometimes to keep that book on a bookshelf.
Yeah.
Because it's limited. You have X number of books on one shelf, and you have this many shelves. That's it. And if you're a bookstore of romance, how deep can you go then into
really
this?
deep.
It's so. And then when you come in and you talk to the person, remember walking into stores and talking to somebody, and they knew what they were talking about.
Yeah.
Or they loved what they were talking about. I remember reading an article from the original. I'm not sure if it's still the same CEO, but we were reading that before the pandemic of him coming in. It was
Barnes & Noble, wasn't it?
Yeah, and he says one of the main reasons is we changed the reason for hiring was one of the main reasons is you loved books.
Yeah.
Instead of you wanted to work retail, you loved books. And I remember like Home Depot. Remember when Home Depot first came to Canada?
I know more than you.
And everybody, can I help you? I know more than you, Ron. And but you walked in, they're all contractors.
Yeah.
They're all retired contractors that they could help you build your thing when you're talking about it, right? That's where the difference is, and that's how you stand out. And also another surprising thing to me, in this day and age, in 2025, we've gone fully bingeable streaming TV shows. We can stream, listen to music without any physical media, but books have stayed. Like we always predicted this, right? The Kindle, the digital was going to change it. And Kindle didn't decrease necessarily book sale. It increased reading.
Yeah.
Which was, it's the one medium that has stayed still physical and at a big level. I don't mean it's niche anymore. It's still the majority of books bought are physical.
I think the other thing, this really reminds me, like when we read something like this, it really reminds me, I don't know if you still say it on stage. You used to talk about this idea that like before social media, if you would come to someone and offered them a tool to listen to what people had to say, I can't remember, you should say it because I don't know how you said it, but like when I see this and I think if I owned a bookstore or if I owned a retail location, I want to incorporate some books. Maybe it's a clothing that has like a section or whatever. I would be on Book Talk. Like I would be on.
I have a Book Talk. I'll have a Book Talk section at the store.
Because I feel like it is such an incredible tool for research and for knowing what people are looking for, what they're saying about the books, that like it's important, I think, to be there and listening to what people have to say.
And one of the things too, like type of store, by just having that one area of titles is that if you have something on Book Talk, you're not going to stock 2 titles. You're going to need 15 copies. You need 20 copies, something like that. And I just think there's your integration, right? There's your integration with social. Keeping on the influencer run we're talking about today, and this is my old school world that I love revisiting once in a while, although my feet get really dirty when I dip my toe into it. It's from TheVerge.com. This is Honey.
I have no idea what you're going to say, and I'm terrified.
Honey! All the news about PayPal's alleged scam coupon app.
Oh my God. How many times can you say coupon and niche in an episode? Sorry, go ahead. I love you.
I'm hitting all the things. PayPal's Honey browser extension has been lauded for years as an easy way to find coupons online, but some are calling it a scam after a deep dive from YouTuber Megalag, who accused Honey of stealing money from influencers. Oh. The video shines a light on Honey's use of last-click attribution. That's an important phrase, by the way. So last-click attribution, it's like, so the last thing you clicked on to buy the item gets the referral.
Understood. It's not how you got, it's the last thing. Okay.
Versus what a cookie was supposed to be, which was, you're the one that sent me here, so if it's within this time frame, you get the credit.
Got it.
Okay, but it's even skeezier. Okay, an approach to online shopping referrals that gives credit for a sale to the owner of the last affiliate cookie in line before checkout. As Megalag's video tells it, Honey takes that credit by swapping its tracking cookie in it for others when you interact with it. So this is what happens. Okay, so if you've used the Honey browser,
high above my pay grade.
Yeah, plug-in. I'll make it in plain English for everybody.
Okay.
Honey promises a service, and they had money behind them. PayPal bought them or owns them. Either one. Probably should have researched it ahead of time. But they come, and it's a plugin for your browser. You just add it to your browser.
Okay.
And anytime you go to checkout for anything you're buying online, and I mean anything, you use what's the name? Honey. Use Honey. Then Honey will then scour the internet for discount codes for that item.
Okay.
And plug it in for you. So if a discount code exists for that Tempur-Pedic mattress you wanted to buy, Honey finds it for you online, and you'll get 10% off or whatever that is. Yes.
Okay, I might be wrong because I don't have the technical understanding. But if I put, let's say we had a coupon code for something.
Yep.
Would it scrape that? Isn't it contextual?
Yeah. So if we had a site that said, hey, you can get the books for 50% off, use code UNBOOKS. It would scrape it, pull it, and say, hey, here's a code. It says UNBOOKS 50.
Yeah.
And then it'll put it in the code in the shopping code.
Okay.
Now, that's fine. This has existed for a long time. These type of things have existed for a long time. Coupon code sites have existed. It's coupon. It's got to be coupon.
Okay,
I'm telling you.
keep going.
These sites exist. They're out there. You can, and they make money. You subscribe to the newsletter, whatever it is, and just keeps giving you a discount. People love doing that. And what happens is some of these sites. Have you ever seen these ads out there? It's like get paid to shop. Get money. You'll get money for shopping for stuff. And that's just affiliate based. Affiliate is you send us that you'll get a cut.
Yeah.
And what these places do is the affiliate says, look, we're going to give you $25 per sale. These sites give you $5. If you buy this, we're going to give you money to buy it.
Yeah.
So we give you $5 of the $25 of the affiliate sale. It's back to you, and we get 20.
Okay.
So that's how it works. The difference for this is Honey that blitzes all of the YouTube influencers in the spaces that they want to go for it, including a lot of the ones I watch.
Okay.
And they promote it. And this is the code. And they get a referral code and all this stuff. They get paid, blah, 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 blah. And they have their own agreements. But what this was doing was then afterwards, when a YouTuber would say, hey, go use Surfshark, one of the big things used on being sponsored, the VPN service, use Surfshark, click here and use our code for that creator, they'd go. But when you requested Honey to find me a discount code, it switched the affiliate link to Honey's.
Oh.
So it overrides the creator's code.
Yeah.
And says it's Honey's sale. So then the creator was never getting credit for the sale, not just on an affiliate thing, but just from a credit of an advertiser seeing you are moving the needle.
Yeah.
It was credited to Honey. So it was doing it, it was changing it. It was very shifty. And that creator mentioned it shows it.
And that's the last
click attribution. It's saying Honey referred you.
But even though that's not the real reason why you're there, if you think about it intellectually,
100%.
not really the reason
you're there because that creator sent me.
That's why it's a trick.
Yeah.
And a scam. So can creators push back against that, or is that
so there's been multiple lawsuits
Can you
filed.
keep your site from being scraped that way, or no, not really?
Yeah, you can put but it used to be no crawl.
Yeah.
From it's called a spider. It would
Yeah.
go. You put a no crawl.
It's like way above my pay grade.
Yeah, you wouldn't go.
Yeah.
So YouTuber Legal Eagle is one of the people suing.
Yeah.
Also, Gamer Nexus is now doing one too. Both people I follow.
Yeah.
And it's a class action.
Wow.
On it. Yeah. So it's what's making the rounds. It's pretty crazy.
That's really interesting. I had found we had talked about this a little bit because this is a story that's from January, so it's from I guess it'll be a month ago. It's from the end of January, so when this episode comes out.
Yeah.
So this is from thefashionlaw.com, and it says beige battle. Influencers spar over systematic copying and ongoing lawsuit. So it's a situation where one influencer is suing another. So Sydney Nicole Gifford is suing Alyssa Shale, alleging that her fellow influencer is engaging in widespread copyright and trademark infringement. So the key question, as influencers cultivate distinct brands, how far can competitors go in borrowing elements without running afoul of the law? So basically, they're talking about sort of that the basics of it is like an aesthetic, like a vibe.
This is what I found interesting.
It's very interesting. And there are lots of examples. There's images that show, the first influencer's vibe, and then the way that the timing, I think timing is also a factor, when the first influencer start posting, when the second influencer posting. And that a trend has been shown where based on where the timing of things and the overall aesthetic that there's copying. It's interesting because to me, it's not that different than like brands copying each other. Like if we talk about influencers as being personal brands, right? Then there is a lot in common.
But also it's like, because an aesthetic
right?
though, because when you think about it, so what is like, and I don't mean trademarks by the legal aspect. I mean, like, what are your trademarks as a creator or an influencer? I don't care. Like, pick the term that's comfortable for you right now.
Yeah.
But when you have a presence in social media, presence as an individual brand, like everything there is part of the aesthetic. And we don't just mean the beiges and the
There's
way
a
the
lot
curtains,
of taupe and beige.
But yeah, there's a lot of taupe.
Yeah.
But they would do great on that quiz for
They
that
would
ad
do-
on Hulu.
that we talked about a couple weeks
They would
ago.
know exactly what taupe is. Like they
Absolutely.
would 100%. But also aesthetic to me,
Yeah.
and correct me if I'm wrong here, love, like is the cuts. Like how quickly you do cuts in the video is an aesthetic.
Yeah.
It's because it changes the style too, right? So I think part of a personal brand or your trademark could also be jump cuts. It could be pan or zooms that you do as well, along with the beiges and the colors or the palette. That
When you
use.
look at the pictures, it's pretty obvious. And the court did there was some the court found. That the one person adequately pleaded to make a case that copyright had been infringed. Like it's the same outfit. It's like the same boot,
what is
the same
copyrightable?
thing.
That's the thing.
It's
like,
also trends, though. That's what I mean. Like there's trends in fashion. So like when you're talking about something that's a trend, that people are wearing certain things or necklaces or stuff, it tends to get copied and reproduced.
So how do you copyright that though? Like so part of it's like the copyright is you copied me.
Yeah, I don't know.
Where's the copywritten thing? That's what I mean. Where's the entity?
I think it's about enough similarities that there's a trend of copying. But like if you think about I keep coming back to like an Apple store. Do you know like you walk in an Apple store and you can like tell you're in an Apple store? And like there's all these different things that make that
it's
up.
Certainly not a Microsoft store. Sorry, go ahead.
But like so if you go in another store, you could see that same vibe, right? That's what this looks like to me. This looks like a pretty clear case of there's some similarities that keep showing up. You guys should check out the article. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
But I mean, we've had those kinds of things, right? Where people are inspired by something that we do, by a video or something that we do, and then, they're also making a similar video. Like we had that with Reflections of Motherhood a couple of times where people were like, I was inspired by your video, so we made the same video.
That's a funny word for copying.
That's what this kind of feels like. Like if you're continuously inspired by the same person, you may need to seek other sources of inspiration than one person, maybe.
But if we inspire you, please.
But that's it. I like influencers getting credit for what they do. Like that's why I like it about Book Talk. Like I think that there is credit to what influencers doing.
But also, I guess the
branding
decision here, it had to get to a point where the person would sue them. Like because part was like it's
Well, and they complained before. Like they didn't go straight to lawsuit.
But one of the angles is let them.
Yeah,
they're not me. That's one of the things, and I get it. This because it's such a visual thing, but it's
pretty obvious.
But like a totally different world. Like my world, when people are like, well, some speakers don't want to send their slides because they don't want us to have them or something.
Yeah.
It's not the slides you're paying for.
No.
Like go copy everything you tell the exact stories I tell. When people call, they're saying, "Hey, Scott, somebody told the Ritz-Carlton story, Joshy on stage." And I'm like, "Oh, it's not mine.
Yeah.
Anybody can tell it." I'm like, "But I only tell it my way."
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing about you and your business. When you are your authentic self, you have no competition.
I can't wait to see the UnPodcast dupes. Like one of you and one of me. That's going to be fun.
All right, Vance, let me see them. Go do the show. Shout out from a few episodes. What's up? You wanted to be on the show? Well, now you're on it, baby. See ya.
Bye, guys.
Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and visit theunpodcast.com. And remember, friends don't let friends use QR codes.